In the small, misty town of Millbrook, nestled among rolling green hills of Yorkshire, Emma Thompson lived a life of quiet determination. At 28, she carried the weight of her family's hopes on her slender shoulders. Her world revolved around a modest cottage with faded blue shutters, where she lived with her aging father, Robert, a retired factory worker whose health was slowly failing. Every morning, Emma would wake before the first light, preparing simple porridge for her father and carefully measuring out his medications. The walls of their home were lined with photographs, memories of happier times when her mother was still alive. A worn violin case sat in the corner, a silent reminder of the musical dreams she had once cherished. Teaching music at the local primary school was more than just a job for Emma. It was her lifeline, her connection to the passion that had been her mother's greatest gift. Each day she would watch her young students' faces light up as they learned to create melodies, hoping to pass on the same love for music that had sustained her through difficult times. Their financial situation was precarious. Robert's medical treatments were expensive, and Emma's modest salary barely covered their basic needs. She had learned to be resourceful, mending clothes, growing vegetables in a small garden, and cutting corners wherever possible. Sometimes late at night, she would sit by the window, her hands tracing the outline of her grandmother's old violin, wondering if there was a way to change their circumstances. Thomas Williams, her childhood friend who now worked as a local mechanic, would often stop by with extra groceries or to help with repairs around the house. His kindness was a beacon of hope in Emma's challenging world. He understood her struggles without her having to explain, a friendship forged by years of shared community and mutual respect. One particularly cold morning, as frost painted intricate patterns on the windows, Emma discovered a flyer that would change everything. A local music competition was offering a substantial cash prize, enough to cover her father's medical treatments and perhaps provide a small cushion of financial security. The challenge seemed impossible. She hadn't performed publicly in years, her confidence crushed by years of self-doubt and family responsibilities. The violin case had remained unopened for so long. When Emma finally opened it, dust danced in the morning light. Her fingers, once nimble and confident, now trembled as they touched the instrument. Memories flooded back, her mother's patient teaching, the warm summer afternoons filled with music, the dreams they had shared. Something stirred within her. A quiet determination began to take root. She remembered her mother's words. "Music is the language of the soul, Emma. It speaks when words fail." Those words had been a comfort during the hardest times, her mother's illness, the funeral, the lonely years that followed. Days turned into weeks. Emma began practicing in secret. Early mornings and late nights when her father was asleep. She started slowly, her fingers relearning the complex movements, rebuilding the muscle memory that had once come so naturally. Each note was a battle against her fears, each melody a testament to her resilience. The town of Millbrook continued its quiet existence, unaware of the transformation happening in the small cottage with blue shutters. Emma's world had narrowed to this, her father, her music, and the smallest glimmer of hope. As winter began to give way to the first hints of spring, Emma made a decision. She would enter the competition, not for the prize money alone, but for something more profound, to honor her mother's memory, to prove to herself that she was more than her circumstances, to show her father that hope was never truly lost. The violin became her companion, her confidant. In its strings, she found a voice she had long forgotten. Each practice session was a conversation between her past and her potential future. The music spoke of struggle, of love, of an unbreakable spirit that refused to be silenced. Thomas noticed the change in her, the spark returning to her eyes, the way her shoulders seemed straighter, more confident. He saw not just a friend struggling to survive, but a woman on the verge of rediscovering her true self. Little did Emma know that this moment, this decision to pick up her violin again, would be the first step in a journey that would transform, not just her life, but the lives of everyone around her. The practice room at Emma's small cottage became a sanctuary of sound and silence. Early mornings and late nights blended together as she worked tirelessly on her music. Each note was a careful step, each melody a whispered promise to herself and her father. Thomas Williams became an unexpected ally in her journey. A local mechanic with rough hands and a gentle heart, he understood determination better than most. He would stop by after his work at the garage, bringing hot tea and practical advice. Sometimes he would sit quietly, listening to Emma's practice, offering subtle encouragement with just a nod or a soft smile. Word began to spread quietly through Millbrook. The music teacher, who was preparing for something big. Whispers in the local bakery, conversations at the small community center. People were curious. Emma remained focused, blocking out the growing expectations. Her father, Robert, watched her transformation with a mixture of pride and concern. His health was fragile, but his spirit remained strong. Some evenings he would sit in his worn armchair, eyes closed, listening to his daughter's violin. The music seemed to breathe life into his tired body, rekindling memories of happier times. The competition approached like a distant storm. Emma's nerves grew with each passing day. She knew the challenge was more than just playing music. It was about proving something to herself. Years of self-doubt had built walls around her confidence, and each practice session was a careful attempt to break those walls down. Thomas helped her in unexpected ways. He understood technique from years of working with precise mechanical parts. Music is like an engine, he would say, showing her how to fine-tune her movements. Every small adjustment matters. His practical approach complemented her emotional connection to the music. Financial pressures remained a constant background melody to her practice. Medical bills continued to pile up, and Emma's teaching salary stretched thin. The competition, prize money, represented more than just a musical challenge. It was a lifeline for her father's treatment. Local musicians began to take notice. Mrs. Peterson, the elderly piano teacher who had taught Emma as a child, heard her practicing one afternoon. Her eyes filled with tears. "You've found your voice again," she told Emma, touching her hand. Those words meant more than any technical praise. The violin seemed to come alive in Emma's hands. It was no longer just an instrument, but an extension of her emotions. The music spoke of struggle, of hope, of a quiet determination that refused to be silenced. Each note carried the weight of her family's hopes, her mother's memory, her father's love. As the competition date drew closer, Emma's confidence began to grow. She wasn't just preparing to perform, she was preparing to tell a story. The story of a woman who refused to be defined by her circumstances, who found strength in her passion. Thomas noticed the change most clearly. Her posture was different, her eyes brighter. The timid music teacher was transforming into something more. A performer, a storyteller, a woman reclaiming her dreams. Robert's health became a constant concern. Some days were good, some were challenging. But the music seemed to be a medicine of its own. When Emma played, he would sit perfectly still, his breathing becoming more regular, his eyes holding a spark of the man he once was. The night before the competition, everything felt different. The cottage was quiet, filled with a sense of anticipation. Emma practiced one last time, her fingers moving across the violin strings with a newfound confidence. Thomas had helped her choose her piece, a melody that spoke of resilience and hope. She thought about her mother, about the years of silence, about the music that had always been a part of her soul. This wasn't just about winning a competition. This was about proving that dreams don't have an expiration date, that hope can bloom in the most unexpected moments. As the first light of dawn broke through the windows, Emma knew she was ready. Whatever happened, she had already won something. Far more important, she had found herself again. The violin rested beside her, a silent companion, waiting for the moment when music would become more than just sound, when it would become a story of transformation. The hospital corridor stretched long and white, a silent witness to countless stories of hope and heartache. Emma sat beside her father's bed, her violin case tucked carefully beside her chair. Robert's breathing was labored, the machines around him creating a steady rhythm that seemed to clash with the music that lived in her heart. Doctors spoke in hushed tones, their words filled with medical complexity that boiled down to one simple truth. Robert's condition was getting worse. Medical bills continued to pile up, a mountain of papers that seemed to grow with each passing day. Emma's savings were almost depleted, her dreams of the competition now feeling like a distant, fragile hope. Thomas appeared unexpectedly, bringing coffee and a quiet strength that Emma desperately needed. He had a way of understanding without words, helping with hospital paperwork, making sure Emma ate something more than hospital vending machine sandwiches. His presence was a lifeline in the midst of her growing desperation. The music competition seemed impossible now. How could she practice when her father's life hung in such a delicate balance? Yet something inside her refused to give up. In the highs, quiet moments between nurses' visits and doctors' rounds, she would take out her violin. At first it was just a few notes. Soft, careful sounds that barely rose above the hospital's constant beeping. But something magical began to happen. Patients from other rooms would peek out. Nurses would pause in their work, drawn by the unexpected melody. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the hospital windows, Emma played, with a raw emotion she had never experienced before. The music was no longer about technical perfection. It was a prayer, a cry, a hope wrapped in sound. Richard Morgan, a local music producer visiting a patient, stood frozen in the corridor. He had heard countless performances, but this was different. This was music that spoke directly to the soul. Imperfect, beautiful, heartbreaking. Emma didn't notice him at first. Her eyes were closed, her body swaying with the music, the violin, an extension of her pain, her love, her entire world. When she finished, there was a moment of complete silence. The hospital corridor, usually cold and clinical, had transformed. Patients wiped away tears, nurses stood motionless, and Richard Morgan approached her with a look of complete understanding. "You're not just playing music," he said softly. "You're telling a story." Robert's condition remained critical. Emma continued to divide her time between hospital visits, caring for her father, and holding on to the smallest thread of hope. The music competition seemed both impossible and essential, a lifeline she couldn't let go of. Thomas continued to support her in practical ways. He arranged shifts at the garage, ensuring Emma could spend time with her father. He brought food, helped with hospital errands, and remained a constant source of quiet strength. The breaking point came on a cold Tuesday morning. The doctors spoke. About difficult decisions, about treatments that might prolong life but offer little hope. Emma felt the world closing in around her. The violin case sat in the corner, a silent promise of something more. Richard Morgan's unexpected interest became a tiny spark of hope. He spoke about her unique ability to communicate through music, about a potential opportunity that went beyond the local competition. But Emma could barely hear him over the sound of her father's labored breathing. In that moment, music became more than just sound. It became a lifeline, a way of processing grief, hope, and the impossible spaces in between. Emma realized that her journey was about more than winning a competition or saving her father's medical bills. It was about finding her voice, about understanding that hope exists in the most unexpected moments. That music could heal in ways that medicine sometimes could not. As the day turned to evening, Emma picked up her violin once more. The notes drifted through the hospital corridor, a melody of love, of loss, of endless possibility. The music competition hall was packed with local musicians, families, and curious listeners. Emma stood backstage, her hands trembling, the weight of everything she had been through pressing down on her shoulders. Thomas waited in the wings, offering a supportive smile that gave her strength. When Emma stepped onto the stage, something unexpected happened. She wasn't perfect. Her performance wasn't technically flawless, but something magical emerged. Raw emotion that touched every single person in the room. Her music told a story of struggle, love, and hope that went far beyond musical notes. Richard Morgan watched from the judges' table, his experienced ears catching something unique. It wasn't about technical perfection. It was about the soul of the music, the story behind each note. He saw a musician who had lived, who had fought, who had survived. The competition results were surprising. Emma didn't win first place, but something even more incredible happened. Richard approached her after the performance, his eyes filled with a mixture of excitement and understanding. "You have something special," he told her, "something that goes beyond traditional music." He offered her a small recording contract and an opportunity to teach music therapy at a local community center. The offer wasn't just about money. It was about recognition of her unique talent. For the first time in years, Emma felt a genuine sense of hope. Thomas stood nearby, his pride evident in every moment. He had been her silent supporter, her rock through everything. The local mechanic who understood the precision of machines now understood the precision of human emotion. Robert's health was slowly improving. The unexpected opportunity meant steady income, better medical treatments, and a chance to breathe. The hospital visits became less frequent, filled with moments of genuine hope and healing. The community center where Emma would teach became more than just a workplace. It was a place of healing, of connection. She worked with children who struggled, with elderly patients finding their voice through music, with people who needed more than just sound. They needed understanding. Her first music therapy session was nerve-wracking. A group of children with various challenges sat before her, watching carefully. Emma began to play, not with technical perfection but with the same emotional depth that had captured Richard's attention. Something magical happened. Children who rarely spoke began to respond. Patients who seemed closed off started to open. Music became a language that went beyond words, beyond limitations. Thomas continued to support her in practical ways. He helped modify the community center's music room, bringing his mechanical skills to create the perfect healing environment. His love for Emma had transformed into a deeper partnership, a shared understanding of what it meant to support someone's dreams. The local newspaper ran a story about Emma's unexpected journey. From a struggling music teacher to a music therapist who was changing lives, her story became a beacon of hope for the small town of Millbrook. Financial pressures began to ease. Robert's medical treatments improved and he started to regain his strength. The cottage that had once felt like a burden now felt like a home of possibilities. Emma discovered that her true calling wasn't about winning competitions or becoming a famous musician. It was about healing, about connecting, about using music as a bridge between pain and hope. Her mother's old violin, once a symbol of lost dreams, now represented something entirely different. It was a connection to her past, a tool for healing, a reminder that life's most beautiful moments often come from unexpected places. As winter turned to spring, Emma looked at her life with new eyes. The struggles hadn't disappeared, but they had transformed. She had found her voice not just in music but in life. Thomas watched her teach, his love growing with each passing day. The local community rallied around her, seeing how one person's passion could create ripples of hope. Richard continued to support her, seeing her potential as something far beyond a traditional musical career. He helped her develop her music therapy programs, recognizing that her true talent was in healing through sound. The unexpected turn wasn't just a career change. It was a complete transformation of what was possible. Emma had discovered that sometimes the most beautiful music comes from the most unexpected places, from struggle, from love, from hope. Years passed, and Emma's life became a testament to the power of hope and healing. The small community center where she worked had transformed into a beacon of musical therapy, touching countless lives in ways no one could have predicted. Robert, once frail and struggling, now sat in a comfortable armchair, watching his daughter work her magic. His health had improved dramatically, and the pride in his eyes spoke volumes about the journey they had shared. The medical bills that once seemed insurmountable were now a distant memory. Thomas had become more than just a friend. Their relationship had blossomed into a deep, understanding partnership. He continued his work as a mechanic but spent increasing time supporting Emma's music therapy programs. His practical skills complemented her emotional approach, creating a perfect balance. The children Emma worked with became her greatest success story. Kids who had struggled with communication, with emotional challenges, found their voice through music. Parents would approach her with tears in their eyes, sharing stories of transformation. That seemed almost miraculous. One particular summer afternoon changed everything. A young boy named Michael, who had been completely withdrawn due to severe autism, responded to Emma's music in a way no one had seen before. As she played her violin, Michael began to move, to communicate, to connect with the world around him. The local newspaper ran another story, this time highlighting the incredible work happening at the community center. Richard Morgan, the music producer who had first recognized Emma's potential, continued to support her work, helping to expand her program to nearby towns. Emma's grandmother's violin, now carefully restored, became a symbol of hope for the entire community. She would sometimes play during special events, her music telling a story of resilience, of love, of unexpected journeys. The small town of Millbrook had changed. What was once a place of quiet struggles had become a community that understood the healing power of music. Local schools began implementing music therapy programs inspired by Emma's work. Thomas proposed on a crisp autumn evening, surrounded by the children from the music therapy program. It was a simple moment, filled with love and understanding. Emma's life had come full circle, from a struggling music teacher to a beacon of hope and healing. Robert's health continued to improve. The medical challenges that had once seemed insurmountable were now distant memories. He spent his days helping, at the community center, sharing stories, supporting Emma's work in his own quiet way. The music therapy program expanded. Emma began training other musicians, showing them how to use music as a tool for healing. Her workshops became sought after, attracting people from all over the region who wanted to learn her unique approach. Local hospitals started referring patients to her program. Children with developmental challenges, veterans struggling with PTSD, elderly patients losing connection with the world, all found a way to heal through music. Thomas supported her every step of the way. His mechanical mind understood the precision required in healing, and he saw music as another form of intricate machinery, something that could be carefully tuned to create something beautiful. On the 10th anniversary of her first music therapy session, the community center held a special celebration. Former patients, families, and supporters gathered to share their stories. Emma played her violin, the same instrument that had once seemed like a distant dream. As the music filled the room, people began to cry, to smile, to remember their own journeys of healing. Michael, the young boy who had first shown remarkable progress, now played his own violin, a testament to the power of music and hope. Richard Morgan watched from the back of the room, pride evident in his eyes. He had seen something special in Emma years ago, and she had exceeded every expectation. The cottage with the blue shutters remained a home of memories and hope. Emma and Thomas had expanded it, creating a space that could host music therapy workshops and support groups. Robert sat in his favorite chair watching his daughter create magic. The struggles of the past had transformed into a beautiful present, a future filled with hope and possibility. As the sun set on another remarkable day, Emma realized that her journey was about more than music. It was about healing, about connection, about finding hope in the most unexpected places. The violin rested beside her, a silent witness to a story of transformation, of love, of the incredible power of never giving up.